The chilling case of JonBenét Ramsey, a 6-year-old beauty queen, is still one of the most disturbing mysteries in America. On the night of December 25, 1996 in Boulder, Colorado, a family's life changed forever. JonBenét disappeared from her home. Then came the shocking discovery, a ransom note asking for $118,000. But this wasn't a normal kidnapping. The twist in the tale came when JonBenét's father, John Ramsey, stumbled upon her lifeless body in their basement the next morning. The autopsy told a brutal story. She had a fractured skull and she was strangled. Police first suspected her parents, John and Patsy Ramsey. The theory, that they killed their daughter and wrote the ransom note to cover it up. But there wasn't enough proof. The Ramseys were cleared. Investigators then looked at another dark possibility, an intruder. Someone who broke in, a kidnapping gone wrong, ending in murder, and escape. But that lead also went nowhere. Despite years of investigations, media chaos, and countless theories, the case remains unsolved. In 2003, DNA testing pointed to an unknown man, not a family member. In 2008, the Ramseys were formally apologized to. Still, the DNA has not solved the case. And every holiday season, when people think of unsolved crimes, one name always returns: JonBenét Ramsey. The Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, has stood for more than 100 years. It was built as a luxurious retreat for wealthy travelers seeking solitude in the mountains. But as decades passed, guests stopped coming. By the 1970s, the once grand hotel had fallen into disrepair. That's when something changed. Around that time, author Stephen King spent a night at the Stanley. That stay inspired The Shining. The book and its blockbuster film adaptation brought the hotel back to life. Today, visitors arrive from all over the world to see the place that inspired one of the scariest horror stories ever told. And given its history, it's no surprise that guests report strange experiences. In April 2016, Texas resident Henry Yao booked a last-minute trip just to see it for himself. After dinner, he wandered through the hotel, taking photos. At the main staircase, he waited for people to clear the area, then took a picture. Nothing seemed unusual. Later that night, everything changed. You suddenly became seriously ill. I felt really sick. I had the shivers. I just knew something was wrong. His companion suggested the emergency room, but Yao refused. On the drive home, he began scrolling through his photos. That's when he noticed something disturbing. A figure standing on the staircase. Except no one had been there. The next day, Yao posted the image online, half joking that he'd captured a ghost. The internet didn't laugh. Almost overnight, the photo went viral. Media outlets and paranormal experts around the world rushed to examine it. Some claimed there were 2 ghosts. Others believed the figure had drained Yao's energy while trying to manifest. There are so many theories, Yao said. And what does Yao think? I have no idea, he says with a laugh. This is a true story. On Christmas Eve, 2008, in Covina, California, a large family gathered for dinner. The house was full, children laughing, gifts stacked near the tree, Christmas music playing softly in the background. At 11:30 p.m., the doorbell rang. When the front door opened, a man stood outside wearing a Santa Claus suit. Before anyone could speak, he raised a gun and fired. The 8-year-old girl at the door collapsed instantly. The man stepped inside. His name was Bruce Pardo, a family member, someone they knew. But under that Santa suit wasn't joy. It was a homemade flamethrower. As people screamed and ran, he sprayed the living room with fuel and ignited it. Fire exploded up the walls. The Christmas tree went up in seconds. Some guests tried to escape through windows. Others hid under tables. Children cried for their parents. The flames moved faster than they could. Neighbors heard gunshots, then explosions, then silence. By the time firefighters arrived, the house was completely engulfed. The heat was so intense they couldn't enter until morning. 9 people were dead. Bruce Pardo fled, still dressed as Santa. Hours later, police found him in another city. He had taken his own life. Inside the burned house, investigators found something haunting. Christmas presents still wrapped, untouched. And ever since that night, the neighborhood remembers one chilling truth. Sometimes evil doesn't hide in the dark. Sometimes it rings the doorbell and waits in a Santa suit. I was 16 when my parents left town for the weekend. They trusted me to stay home alone for the very first time. I lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood, safe, predictable, the kind of place where nothing bad ever happened. I was excited, no curfew, no rules. Oh, just horror movies, junk food, and silence. By Friday night, I was stretched out on the couch, the movie playing, the house completely still. Then around 10 p.m., the phone rang. Annoyed, I answered without thinking. There was nothing on the line, just silence. "Hello?" I said. Still nothing. The silence. It felt heavy, almost intentional. After a few seconds, the call ended. I brushed it off as a wrong number and went back to the movie. An hour later, the phone rang again. Same silence. This time, it bothered me. I hung up quickly, trying to ignore the tight knot forming in my chest. But the calls, they didn't stop. They came again and again, always silent. No voice, no explanation. Eventually, I started hearing faint sounds on the line, breathing, soft movement, like fabric shifting. Someone was there, listening. By midnight, my excitement had vanished. Every creak of the house made me flinch. The silence between calls felt suffocating. When the phone rang, my heart raced. When it stopped, I felt worse. Around 2 a.m., the ringing became relentless. I stopped answering, but it didn't help. The phone echoed through the house, each ring louder than the last. I sat frozen on the couch, staring at it in the dark. Finally, I answered one last time. At first, there was nothing. Then, a soft click, and immediately after, another phone, hanging up. My blood ran cold. We only had one landline, or so I thought. That second click came from somewhere else in the house. The calls weren't coming from outside. They were coming from inside. I dropped the phone and scanned the darkness. Every shadow, suddenly alive. My breath came fast, shallow. I didn't wait to confirm what I already knew. I grabbed my keys and ran. I barely managed to unlock the front door. Before sprinting to my neighbor's house, I pounded until they answered. They called the police, while I stood shaking on the porch, too terrified to go back. When the officers arrived, they searched my house room by room. Minutes later, they found him. A man, hiding in the basement, crouched in the dark, holding a second phone. He had been there the entire time, listening, calling, waiting. The police said he'd likely broken in days earlier. I had been living above him, completely unaware. Even now, years later, I can still hear that silence on the line and the sound of another phone hanging up.